So I spent a lot of time trying to find the perfect partner for me, that one woman that I could marry and just have this amazing life with. That was my goal. And I want to promise you that I used every form of technological advantage to try to make this happen. My phone was a litany of dating apps and profiles. And I searched based on everything you can imagine: hair color, age, distance, because let's be honest, no one wants to date someone over 15 miles away. Let's just be clear about that. So I did everything I could to dial in the preferences in a customized fashion to find the perfect woman. And it was a complete and utter failure every time. So one night, I'm sitting in a restaurant waiting for one of these women I had met online to arrive to the restaurant. And as I'm sitting there waiting, I'm kind of thinking this through, like, God, something's got to be wrong with me. Maybe it's the wrong picture, and I take another selfie. Maybe it's I'm too tall. I'm 6'5". That could be a problem. Maybe I'm too big. Maybe I'm too little. I don't know. What's my problem right now? So I had all this self-doubt going on. And then suddenly, it hit me. I had this realization. I had been stood up by my date. Yeah. I sat there for 2 hours pondering all this and didn't even realize that my date wasn't there. So I became ridiculously frustrated. I got up, I left the restaurant, I headed to my friend's nightclub, which was opening that night, his grand opening, and that's where we were going to go anyway. So I get to the nightclub, I'm hanging out, and I'm thinking, gosh, I just need some human interaction. This dating thing is over for me. I'm finished. I'm done with it. This is a nightmare. So I'm sitting there, but just like any of you who go to a nightclub know, I'm looking around, and nearly everyone is on their phone. They're either texting or they're checking something out. People are taking selfies. The guy standing next to me, no joke, having a full conversation with me, swiping left, swiping right, swiping left, swiping right, right. And I thought, this is insanity. What has happened to us? So then I looked up, and across the dance floor was the most amazing woman I had ever seen. And I started staring. And staring some more. Must have been way too much staring, because eventually she walked over to me. And I'll never forget the first words she said to me. She said, "Are you going to stare at me all night, or are you actually going to say something?" Wow. I'm happy to tell you that that woman is actually now my wife, Diana. Yeah, you can applaud. She's here. And if you notice, it wasn't through technology or dialing in preferences and customization. It was through the act of fate, the human connection, the eyes up, looking around for what is possible and what could happen. That's what changed the course of our lives. And I have to back up to tell you that I was actually a part of the problem I'm talking about. At the time, I was the co-founder and CEO of a dating app. The app was tailored to a very specific group of people in the industry I had been in for about 4 years, the marijuana industry. The app was called Hi There, H-I-G-H-T-H-E-R-E. Hi There, or as the media love to call it, the Tinder for tokers. That's not a joke, that actually happened. And I was obsessed with social connectivity and social apps and customization. One of the things our users wanted constantly in the app was more customization, dial in more features. I want age, I want distance. People wanted distance down to 100 feet. That is not a joke. That was actually a request. And so all these dialed in features we were working with, I didn't even realize what we were building at the time until I met Diana and my focus started to change. Now I want to back up for a minute just to prove something to you. Everyone right now, first time a speaker's ever said this to you probably, take out your cell phone. Now, just go ahead. No, I'm serious. Those of you that are like, I'm not going to do it. Take it out. Now, I want you to look at your phone compared to the person next to you. Notice different covers, customized covers. If you turn your phone on, you'll also notice all the apps are customized to fit your needs, your desires, all the things you love to waste your time on are in there. By the way, those of you checking your email or text, stop now. The point I'm making to you is this is just your cell phone. And it is hyper-customized to a level that is unprecedented. And I hypothesize that this is creating a hyper-customization in our culture whereby we are demanding that everything be my way or the highway. And I think the question we have to ask ourselves, is the hyper-customization of technology actually turning on us and potentially damaging our human relationships and connections? Now, put your phone away. So, something heartbreaking happened on the app as we were developing it, and it launched initially. I'm sitting there just going through the app, checking out profiles, kind of figuring out functionality, and I get a message in the messenger on the app from a woman named Susan. Now, Susan was having a hard time, and she felt like her app was broken. So I had our guys look at it to see if it was in fact broken, and it wasn't. It was working fine. But she said to me through our conversation that she couldn't get anyone to connect with her, and she was afraid something was wrong. She literally said, "I think there's something wrong with me." That was heartbreaking to me. Here I am, the CEO of a piece of technology, breaking hearts already. As it turned out, Susan was a cancer survivor, and Susan was on the app to meet other cancer survivors. She used marijuana because it was a way for her to get through her neuropathy, her pain that she would feel after chemotherapy, and it was a way for her to sleep at night. And she just wanted to meet people like her. Susan was also 60 years old, and her profile picture was her without hair, with a giant smile on her face. I had developed something where people could tune her out and dial away from her and never see her or connect. And I realized it was heartbreaking. I was a huge part of the problem. Me. It was my fault that she was feeling this way. She told me she felt sad, lonely, and depressed. Whew. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to know you've done that. So by the way, this hyper-customization is not just hurting us in how we meet people. It's also damaging in how we stay together. Michigan State University did a study recently that articulated 28% of people who meet online break up within the first year. And by 3 times more people who meet online divorce than people who meet through organic means, friends, or like Diana and I, through acts of fate. 3 times. That's powerful. No wonder it feels like the fabric of our culture and society is collapsing around us. So I went back to the app, and I really started to look at the different features. And then I started to think about business later. And one of the things Diana and I did, I want to tell you about this because it's kind of important. When we met, we created 2 businesses together. Now, one of them is that we work with senior leaders. Now, I've been a leadership coach for a long time, and we worked with senior leaders, and we do now, around developing their skills for how they communicate with their teams. And we discovered something in the last year. Leaders were saying to us, very senior leaders were saying, we are so frustrated because when employees come to work now, they are constantly demanding more and more and more customized interactions. We had one leader say to us, I have to customize everything I do to talk to every employee in a different way just so they feel better. And they said, we can't get anything done. It's like gridlock in our company. We also formed another business, a small consulting firm, still connected to marijuana, where we do government affairs and community outreach. And one of the things we learned there is that politicians and voters and consumers are all frustrated because when a politician puts out some kind of a quick tweet in the middle of the night, what does everyone do? Pounce on that and customize it, and how dare you say that, and now you've offended me because I need everything customized to who I am. These 2 things, business and government, require us, in order for them to work, to focus on collaboration, connectivity, putting away our differences to solve major problems. There's a study, or not a study, there's a new technology coming out that is scaring the hell out of me. It's an algorithm, a program that literally takes your resume and looks at all of your social media and determines if you're a right fit for a company before you've ever met a person. That's heartbreaking. All of my jobs, my whole life happened because I met people and communicated first. This is what's happening to our business and our social framework. But what I did with Hi there is I had a realization. We need to turn it into a tool, not destroy it or scrap it. So what we did was we turned it into a tool. And inside the app, I created something called My Story. My story was 420 characters, of course. 420 characters. Takes everybody a minute. 420 characters to tell your story. People could talk about they had PTSD from being in Afghanistan. They could say, I have cancer and I'm trying to recover and I want to meet people like me. They can say, I just love cannabis because I'd rather have that on a Saturday night than drink a bottle of wine. It didn't matter. They could tell their story, and it worked. The app jumped from 40,000 users to almost 300,000 within the year after we initiated my story. And the best part of that story is that Susan wrote me back and said, thank you, because now I'm connected. Let that sink in. It's the power of our stories that makes us unique. So there's hope for us as a society, by the way, and that's if we turn our technology into the tool that it is supposed to be. You want to use that tool to order a pizza? Go for it. Put the pepperoni on. Oh, don't. I heard some people talk about pepperoni earlier. Put the pepperoni on it if you want to. You want to use that to book a flight, specifically the tailored, custom way you want to book the flight? Do it. That's fantastic. But we have got to stop using technology to treat human beings like commodities. We are not wheat. We are not corn. We are not fuel. We are not meant to be traded up and traded down at the whim of a swipe. It is important that we realize we can use these things as a tool to enhance our experience, but not to replace the human experience. I think about Diana and I think, my God, what would have happened if we had tried to find each other on an app? We could have missed each other by a year or two of age. We could have missed each other by distance. Diana lived quite literally 16 miles from my house. So what we discovered here in our businesses and that I want to relay to you, there are 4 things I think we as a society need to focus on. Number 1 is awareness. You have to have an awareness that there is no algorithm, there is no technology, there is no program that will ever be developed and ever has been developed that will replace the power of eye contact, of communication, of talking to each other. Never. It will never be replaced. Number 2 is you have got to really disrupt the way you use your technology. If you're standing in the line getting coffee, please look up, talk to people, communicate, okay? Number 3 has to do with voting. We as a society of voters have got to stop voting on pontification and posts and parties, and we've got to start looking at people who listen to us, right? We've got to start doing this. Technology can be a phenomenal tool. Phenomenal. It's like a hammer. A hammer is a great tool. You can build all kinds of things with it. You can also break all kinds of things with it, destroy things with it, like technology can do both. And the story that you heard as I came out, I want you to hear again. On our way here, our flight was in fact diverted, had to go back to Salt Lake City. It was 11:30 at night when we landed. Literally not a hotel room to be found, and the next flight was 2 p.m. the next day. Instead of sleeping in the airport, Diana and I decided and started talking about renting a car. And there was one of the most impressive couples I have ever met there, a young woman and her boyfriend, and the woman walked up to us because, and this is important, she's 21, and I want you to know there's hope for the future. Because as a 21-year-old, her head was up, and she was listening, and she was trying to find a solution for herself, and she was not buried in her phone. And the first thing she said to me as fast as she could, she goes, we're 21 years old, we can't rent a car, we got to get to Sun Valley, heard you're renting a car, can we go with you? Diana and I said, absolutely, you guys can go with us. By the time we were done, we had upgraded the car 3 times, and we had 5 strangers and us, 7 strangers, and we drove through the night. And guess what we did the entire time? We talked. Barely anyone slept. We communicated the whole time. We made friends. We shared connections. By the way, that couple is here today because, like you heard, his cousin was speaking, and he was surprising her. That's the power of our human connectivity. We can use technology as a tool to enhance, but never forget that that tool can be destructive or constructive. The decision lies in the hands of the user, and that is all of us. Thank you.